Welcome to the Berg Lake Trail, a 42-kilometer backcountry hike located in the Mount Robson Provincial Park in British Columbia. A trail my mom, my dad, and myself decided to hike for 4 days and 3 nights, this being their first backcountry experience and my second. There were some tears, our backs hurt, but we proved that we could do it. We had so much fun, and here is the video. We have made it. We just had dinner. We have set up all of our stuff, our sleeping bags, our sleeping pads. It is a little bit cold, so I'm already in my matching jumpsuit. It took us about 2.5 hours to hike up to the Whitehorn campground, which we are staying at tonight. And then tomorrow, we're going to Rearguard campground. We heard the trail is going to be difficult. Hopefully we can start early in the morning, get some breakfast, and survive. We shall find out. But tonight we might have just some hot chocolate. We're going to chill, get to sleep early, and that'll be that. And we definitely found out how difficult it was. This is the start of day 2. And welcome to day number 2 of the hike to Berg Lake. We had a pretty decent sleep last night, but we already had breakfast. We've had some hot chocolate, some egg scramble. It's a little bit colder in the morning, and unfortunately, it is a little hazy from forest fires. So hopefully we get some decent views. Apparently, the hike is going to be about 9 kilometers, and one portion of the hike is like straight up. Nice about that is that there are going to be a couple of waterfalls along that hike. So we're going to die, but we're also going to have some milestones to make it easier to get up to Berg Lake. And then we're starting at Rearguard campground tonight, which is about 1 kilometer past Berg Lake. So we'll probably hang out at Berg Lake because that's the main attraction, and then go and set up camp and chill for the rest of the night. Then tomorrow we are back here at Whitehorn, and then we are going home. So it's been a fun journey. Let's see if we survive today. Now, can I say we survived? Yes, but let me go over how difficult the hike was for us. Immediately seeing how thick the smoke was pretty discouraging. We knew we had to get to our campground, so we hoped that it was going to be cleared out later. The first portion of this hike was this scramble along the ridge. Then we came across this very beautiful bridge that gave us an opportunity to see the waterfalls more up close. Super tall waterfalls. What's nice too is that the trail had been closed for a couple of years, so a lot of this infrastructure is brand new. They did such a good job rebuilding this trail. But unfortunately, after the bridge came the difficult part. It was kind of a cliff, and I am afraid of heights, so I scurried up there as quickly as possible. Once we reached the top, you could just see how high we had already climbed from the river below. This is also where you're going to see White Falls, which is the first one you'll see on the trail. After this point, though, there are switchbacks upon switchbacks. We were taking them so slowly because our backpacks were so heavy. A lot of day trippers were passing us. We had to just do one foot in front of the next. Continuing along, we made it to Falls of the Pool, which is the second waterfall that you will see. We took a quick break for water, kept on moving until we finally saw a glimpse of Emperor Falls. Emperor Falls is the most iconic waterfall along this hike, so we knew we needed to get there. However, we were already very exhausted. The trail was pretty rocky and rooted. We also came across this really sketchy bridge, but we kept going up and even saw that Emperor Falls was pretty much horizontal to us, so we knew we were coming close. And then there it was, the green trailhead sign. I knew we had made it. My parents were too exhausted. They said, we'll look at it on the way down tomorrow. Dropped my bag, and I ran down to get the most beautiful view of Emperor Falls. The falls stand at 142 feet high. I think it's so unique that it falls off the cliff, hits this like ledge right in the middle, and then produces this large amount of spray. Lucky for me, I got a little mist and I cooled down a little bit. I didn't stay too long because I knew my parents were waiting. I got my pictures, I got my videos, and a little bit of a rest time. And shortly after that, we got to Emperor Falls Campground. At this point, we were able to fill up our water bottles, have a couple of snacks, but the view was not as great as I was hoping it to be. It finally felt like we were done with the uphill because now we were in more of an open valleyway. This was also the first opportunity where we saw a little bit of Mount Robson, obviously with the smoke, not as clearly. This part was really cool because we were now on the alluvial fan, and when they were reconstructing this trail, they had left these stepping stones for everyone to use. I imagine at the beginning of summer with more runoff, this would be very difficult to do, but we made it past, only got our shoes wet a couple of times, and this led us to the edge of Berg Lake. From here, we saw Mount Robson with the glacier in between, and then the further mount in the back is Rearguard Mountain. So spectacular, even with the smoke. The trail continued alongside the lake for about 1 kilometer until we got to Berg Lake Campground. This campground was absolutely massive. I think I read somewhere that there are 26 tent pads, and all of them get booked up immediately. This is definitely the place that a lot of people want to stay because there's this whole shelter, and then obviously with the picnic tables and the view, you can go swimming. This is the ultimate attraction. But because we couldn't get a reservation, we had to stay in Rearguard Campground, which was another 1 kilometer past the lake. We actually didn't really mind this because at Rearguard there are 6 tent pads, so it was a lot quieter. We were also so exhausted by this point, we set up the tent and went to bed pretty early. And lucky for us, later at night, it started clearing out, so we became very optimistic for the next day. Good morning. It is day number 3 of the Berg Lake Trail. I'm so happy. We woke up, and I guess overnight there was some wind that came through and blew out most of the smoke. I would say about 90% of it. Yesterday we couldn't even see that there was mountains around us, and today it is so clear. We're going to get such good views of the lake and the mountain, the glacier behind me. So I'm so happy. We have a lot of downhill today because we're going back to Whitehorn Campground, but I think I might try to do Toboggan Falls, which is a higher vantage point trail. And luckily it is a loop, so I'll be able to maybe meet up with my family. But I'm so excited to get some amazing pictures, amazing videos, and we're about to have some hot chocolate, some breakfast, and start our day. Here it is, and happy exploring to us. Our final day was very bittersweet as we packed our bags for the last time, took down the tent, and put some hot water and some dehydrated food, which we actually started to enjoy after a while. I walked down to the river to say goodbye to the Whitehorn campground and its beautiful views, which we enjoyed. Would highly recommend anybody stay here if you are going to do the backcountry camping. Then it was time to make our descent all the way back to the car, which was going to be about 10 kilometers. This gave us plenty of time to look over our trip and think about what we would do differently next time. We definitely all agreed that we would like to come back and do this hike, but instead of doing 3 nights, we thought doing 4 would be better. Just having another night near Berg Lake would have been cool, just so we could have done a few other day hikes. There's a day hike to Adolphus Lake where a lady on the trail told us this is where you'll see icebergs in the lake. Unfortunately, Berg Lake is a little too warm for that nowadays. There's also the Snowbird Pass that a lot of people loved. We also regret not going to the Robson campground. It was only 1 kilometer down the trail from where we were staying at Rearguard, so we would definitely like to do that next time. I'm so glad that my mom and I decided to do Toboggan Falls. We had the perfect weather for it. We did not go to the cave, so I'm curious about that. The Mum Basin Trail was also closed, so that was inaccessible for this trip. Also wish we could have done Toboggan Falls later in the day. Having the sun hit the mountain would have been such a perfect picture, but also can't complain because the smoke cleared out so much, so we did get very lucky. Obviously, that was a major downfall of the trip, but when you live in British Columbia and hike in British Columbia in the summertime, you just have to be prepared for it. In terms of packing, we definitely thought we brought a few too many heavy items and just items we did not need. And then when it came to food, we overestimated so much. We thought we'd have more time for lunch, but when you're moving and trying to get to your next campsite, you really only have time for some beef jerky and a protein bar. In terms of physicality, my family and I prepared for about a month prior. We could have maybe done a little bit more. It wasn't necessarily the endurance that we were worried about, but the weight of the backpack. And that was definitely the biggest challenge for us. I think doing a couple of practice hikes, maybe wearing our backpack, would have been a good idea. If you're a complete beginner, I'd highly recommend going to Kinney Lake. There is a campground here, but a lot of people with their bikes, their pets, tons of people swimming. This is a great place to just have lunch and enjoy the warm weather. If I wasn't so determined to get back to the car, I think I would have gone for a swim, but I splashed my face instead, which did cool me down quite a bit. Also, if you're gonna do the day hike to Berg Lake, please start early in the morning. The amount of people we saw halfway at 2 p.m., they were never gonna make it before the sunset. They would have been hiking in the dark. Give yourself ample opportunity to start early, enjoy the lake, and then be able to make it down safely. We were warned at one point on the trail that there was a bear sighting. We did have bear spray with us, but we just clapped and made a lot of noise and we just never saw him. And that was pretty much our adventure. The way home was a little bit slow. As soon as we saw that 3 kilometer marking, then the 2 kilometer, then the 1 kilometer, we knew we were almost there. And when we made it to the car, it was such a sense of accomplishment. We were so proud of ourselves. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and supporting my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to see what other adventures I get to film in the future. But Berg Lake 2025 was a success. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.